Mahmood works with young people in Birmingham. He's a former Home Office advisor on security and counter-terrorism, and he joins us now from our Birmingham studios. Thanks so much for talking to us here on BBC News. What's your reaction, first of all, to these figures?
I think they're pretty large, pretty huge figures, and the concern is that people are sometimes drawing the dots without really finding clear evidence. And I, not so long ago, heard a teacher say that he feels he's under a lot of pressure and that if he doesn't make a referral, he could be at some point complicit if something was to happen. And he would rather dab someone in it, so to speak, than get into trouble himself. And that's the kind of pressure that we're putting on teachers, and the kind of education system is to some degree becoming securitized. However, I do understand the concern, but I just don't feel that we're tackling it in the right way.
So if this isn't the right approach, what would you suggest?
Well, I think part of the training needs to change. Is sometimes we have to understand that teachers are teachers, they're specialists in their own fields, that how can you train them on complex political ideas and theological factors when they've got so much burden on their shoulders already? It's best to have people to come in and perhaps talk to the young people and give support, and then rather than refer them directly to the police and authorities, maybe someone in between, like an intermediary, that can come in so that young people don't feel like a police officer has come in and, for instance, straight away they feel isolated. We have to take into consideration the psychology of the young people that we're dealing with. We don't want to marginalise them and alienate them, because that only increases the risk of them actually being radicalised.
Because the difficulty as well, I presume, is distinguishing between what is said and what is meant.
Absolutely. I mean, I can give you an example. I recall going into a school once, and there was this young boy who wanted to talk about the Taliban. I was talking about the Muslim contribution in the First and Second World War. However, he was insistent that he wanted to talk about the Taliban. And the teacher was a little concerned, so I took him into a corner. And the reason he wanted to talk about the Taliban was because some of the kids in the classroom kept referring to him as Taliban. And it was only then I realised his frustration and that he didn't really know much about this religious group, and I had to break it down for him. However, maybe if I wasn't there, a referral could have been made. I would like to think that it wouldn't have been made, but there are young people who have genuine questions that need to be answered, and what we need to do is create open spaces for them to talk about their feelings, and for us to then genuinely and responsibly challenge and counter them if we feel them not to be in sync with our own value system.
The highest number of referrals was in the West Midlands. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I have heard that. I'm sorry, I'm losing you for a second, but I'm going to have to hold my earpiece. I have heard that there have been large referrals in the West Midlands area, and the local authorities keep trying to convince us that they've got a better system in place now. However, I can tell you of one story that's very important. A local youth organisation wanted to call me in because they felt there was a trainer who was hired by the local council who was just encouraging people to make referrals. We have to understand that this has become an industry. People have to substantiate their salary and why they're in work. And he was telling people in this youth organisation that this is how you make a referral, and it's best if you make the referral. However, the youth organisation said, look, what we want to do is build trust. We don't want to hand over our young people to another organisation to deal with them. We want an in-house kind of training system that will help us. And I came in, and I would like to think that that did make a difference. They haven't made many referrals since, which I think is the way forward. I don't think we just automatically refer young people to the government's counter-extremism mentoring programme called Channel. I think that we should have in-house programmes and projects built into schools and colleges and other institutions that allow staff and perhaps outside help to support them, because they need support. And what we're doing is literally laying the responsibility on their doorstep.
Okay.
And some of them just don't have the capacity or know how to deal with it. And at the same time, they feel that their jobs are at risk.
Okay.
So it's tricky. It's not an easy situation for them. I understand the concern from the authorities as well. But it could be argued that they haven't given us definitions around extremism. Sometimes there's a fine line between what you do report and what you don't, and that's where people can get themselves into trouble.
Okay.
And young people can find themselves alienated.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We must leave it there. Time is short, and thanks for battling with your sound problems.